Hey, you out there, get ready. Join me and many others on this show. Our host is John Knox.
Greetings, I am John Knox. This is Sharing Life. This is Season 4, Episode 11. This episode is called My Neighbor, Mr. PJ. Support for Sharing Life comes from APEC Marketing. To consult their services, go to apecmarketing.com. By email, contact Asha at APEC Marketing.
APEC Marketing, your resource for digital marketing, web, and app development tools.
Hey, Peter. How are you doing?
Yeah, perfect. When I was a kid, we moved to England for my dad's work. And I was on the beach in Spain at 13 years old with my friend and his sister. And I heard come out of the speakers in the resort, A Whiter Shade of Pale by Procol Harum. And after listening to my parents' music all my life, that was just one of the most magical moments of my life, that I heard a new style of music that I'd never heard before. And I've never forgotten that song since I was 13 years old. It was just so new and fresh to me, you know? And I find fascinating these days that my kids, I'm happy for them. They like a lot of the music I like, but I think there was a musical generational split in the early 60s, maybe even before, but it wasn't until I became aware of it. And then I moved back to Canada when I was 14, and the first song I heard when I got back to Canada was Jimi Hendrix, All Along the Watchtower. And that was another mesmerizing moment. I just was so hooked on rock and roll. Just so cool. When I go to a rock concert, and I've been to concerts so loud and the bass is so full that it actually almost pushes my chest, and the guitars almost go through my head from my one ear to the other like an electric spark. I just can never recreate that at home. The first time I saw AC/DC, and I didn't know any better, I sat next to the Cannons. And when they played We Salute You, all the cannons started firing. Now, I realized they were just pyrotechnical cannons, but I've never heard anything so loud in my life. And after I left the concert, I almost had like shell shock. So I couldn't walk straight. I was so disoriented from the volume and the pyrotechnics and the blast. It was fun. Yeah, the funny thing is I won't go see the bands now that I saw in my youth, because they, like myself, are getting extremely old, and I do not wish to see them as they are. I wish to remember them as they were. Like the Who said, I want to die before I get old, and of course they didn't, but that was my first rock concert ever, seeing the Who in Buffalo in 1969, and it was just an amazing experience when they smashed all the guitars at the end, and that was another kind of like war moment. Not to make light of war, but it was pretty amazing.
For sure.
I was hooked on concerts ever since then.
There is a big thrill to these concerts.
One night I saw AC/DC in Buffalo on Saturday night, and I saw Metallica in Toronto on Monday, and my ears were still ringing from Saturday, so I wore earplugs for the Metallica concert, which kind of took away from the experience. But I got home from AC/DC that second time, and I could hear a hum all night long. Not the best way to be, but at the time it was worth it. So
it sounds like you have found things that motivate and inspire you to go through the regular 9 to 5. And I think you like many things.
I do.
Right, and one of them happens to be heavy metal.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I took piano lessons as a child, and the piano teacher gave me my money back and said, I don't think you're capable of learning the piano, so I may be not have a musical ear to play, but it doesn't mean I don't enjoy listening to it.
I think some people are just very insulting.
No, she was being honest. Like, well, let's say it probably wouldn't have been worth the effort. So anyhow, as part of my experience in going to England as a youth with my family for my father's work transfer was we got sent to a private school because my dad thought that that would be a better experience than the public school system. So I, at the age of 10, was rather offended by having to wear a beanie cap, a tie, and gray flannel shorts, looking just like Angus from AC/DC. And I thought, I didn't ask for this, but anyhow, that's how we have to take life as it's given to us. So anyhow, I learned in the private school that as payback, we used to flick pats of butter with our knives onto the ceiling over where all the teachers sat. And in the summer, all the pats of butter stuck to the ceiling would melt and drip on their heads. So that was a very enjoyable part of 4 years, payback. That's where I learned, let's have some fun in life, When I was a kid, I used to like to build model battleships, model cars. And one day I built a model battleship. And because I decided I wanted to recreate a movie I'd seen, I loaded the battleship up with fireworks and gasoline and pushed it out into a pond and threw a match in it. And it blew up so bad that my brother got his stomach burned off and had to go to hospital.
Oh, boy.
But that was a fun experience.
Yeah. Nothing like being a kid.
Nothing like being a kid, so...
What have you tried lately?
I do like replacing my coworkers' golf balls so they just turn into a pile of powder. Actually, at one tournament, my friend was teeing up and I lit a firecracker and threw it on the ground by his ball just as he swung, and he lost that ball. So.
In this first chapter, Peter told us about the first time he heard rock music and his love for heavy metal and practical jokes. In this next chapter, you will hear about dog walking, stories about Peter's dad, a barbecue, Peter's favorite TV shows, and the type of cars that Peter likes to drive. Are you ready? Come on, let's go. Here, boy, let's go. Sit. Are you ready? Let's go. Have you always had a dog?
Pretty much, yeah. Ever since I was a kid, we had a dog. However, I've always loved animals. I still love animals. But after, I'm not sure if it's the fourth dog or the fifth dog, but it's really nice to actually be pet-free. Not because I don't like animals, because I don't have the responsibility anymore. And it was after about 30, 40 years, there's not a lot of enjoyment in taking the dog for a walk in the pouring rain, snowstorm, frigid temperatures. So anyhow, life is like it's different stages, I guess. And having children was, probably the most awesome thing that ever happened to me. But that being a stage in itself, it's so cool when they grow up and become independent. And now having a grandchild, the coolest thing about a grandchild is you can visit as little or as long as you want. So, like the same thing, I just love pets, but for a limited time, and then they can have their pet back, because I'm relieved to not have the responsibility of children or pets at this stage in my life.
Well, it was very enjoyable while you had them, I understand.
Oh, totally. Well, the saddest days of my life have been putting our pets to sleep.
Mm.
And after 3 or 4 times of doing that over the decades, people die, pets die. But having to choose when your pet is to die because your pet is infirm and about to die is probably the hardest thing I ever did in my life, and I'm not doing it again ever. So, but they were fun. They were totally fun.
Which dog of yours was your favorite?
Ooh, probably Joanne's dog, Tammy, because it was the one that had probably the most intelligence. Sometimes getting a mutt, you win some, you lose some, but I loved them all. So
yeah, I saw pictures of Tammy. Tammy was like a big, like German Shepherd.
Yep.
Yeah, I really liked Sheba. I always thought she was a very beautiful dog.
Well, I found every dog we had was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Different, but all very lovable.
Do you think back on our days of taking Sheba to the Humber and skipping stones?
Oh, I do. I also remember one winter that was basically a high of -10 Celsius and a low of -17 Celsius for 3 months. And every day after work, I took the kids and the dog to the Humber to go tobogganing. And the dog and the kids had a fantastic time every single day, going down the hill and up the hill. And I was standing at the top, and that was the coldest winter of my life. But the things we got to do for our children.
Mm.
So, evolution. Actually, speaking of evolution, I remember when we paid for Dan to take driving lessons, get his driver's license, and he was borrowing the car, and he'd been driving for about 3 months. And all of a sudden, he pulled out of the driveway, went as far as the neighbors, and he backed up and put the car back on the driveway, and he said, "Dad, there's no gas in the car." And I said, maybe you have to put some gas in. And he was most upset that, he would actually have to buy gas. But last week, Dan borrowed our car, and when he brought it back to us, he filled it up without asking. So I guess we raised him properly after all.
That's the jazz, eh?
That was a pretty cool feeling. Didn't have to say a word, and he just filled it up. So
yeah, I like that. And I did remember those dog walking days. My siblings and I were part of those tobogganing days you referred to. I do remember going with you guys to walk the dog and skip the stones and do all those things. And it was so much fun. It really gave a rhythm and a pace to my childhood that just wouldn't have been there. So I'm very thankful for that. And it was always so much fun hanging out with you and the guys.
Yeah, well, that wasn't so much dog walking as just, being. I mean, it was a walk, but really with not a sense of purpose, like, walk around the block, walk around the track, just go hang, chill, be children,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it truly was a very good time. I understand that you also, as you were growing up, you found more interesting things to do and that you even got involved in like a theater production. Can you tell me about that?
Oh, no, I wasn't involved in the theater production at all. My friends were involved in the theater production. I was just hanging out with them. But my friends were running the backstage, so to speak, the lights and the curtains and the sound system. And we just decided to have a few beers while the school play was going on back up in the rafters. And I guess the teacher caught wind of the alcohol and called the police, and the police came, and because we were all underage, well, they called our parents to come get us to go home. And my dad said, well, is he okay? And they said, yes. Well, then I'm not coming to get him. He can walk home when he's finished. Like, I guess the thing is, the European system back then for alcohol was, if you drank responsibly, what did it matter? And in North America, you could go to war and die, but you couldn't have a drink. So when people turned legal age, they just went crazy with drinking. But I was allowed to have a glass of wine at dinner. I'm 10 years old, and that's basically how you learn responsible drinking,
Yeah, exactly.
Just a different mindset of the country at the time, I think. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and some dads, they don't like to be pushed around, so he was able to put his foot down. It's an entertaining story in a way.
Actually, the most interesting thing my dad ever taught me is we were on a car ferry in France, and we had gone on the ferry as pedestrians because whatever, I don't know why, but and then the ferry came to the dock, and the ferry operator said to my dad, all you people have to wait until the cars come off. And my dad said, I'm not waiting. And he turned to my mom and my brother and I, and he said, let's go. And as soon as the gate lifted, he started walking off and made the cars wait. And I kind of thought, yeah, why should the cars always go first? But it taught me basically the lesson of, like, I don't always do what authoritative figures tell me to do. And the other thing my dad taught me that I've never forgotten to this day is I never buy anything without knowing how much it cost. If they don't have the decency to tell me what it is and price, I don't want it. A lot of people do that. Oh, I didn't know it was that much money. Tell me how much it is. And then I can make an informed decision if I want. I'm never embarrassed to ask how much it is. If I go in a restaurant and there's no prices on the menu, I turn around and walk out. I'm not interested. A fool and his money are soon parted. Well, some people, I learned that. I'm not embarrassed about that. Why should I be? It's my money.
Mm-hmm.
Some places are intimidating, possibly, but I don't care, Money's hard to make, so it's easy to spend. You want me to spend it, I want total forthright, disclosure.
Oh, it makes sense.
Unbeknownst to me, I was living with 4 other roommates, and one of them, we were having a party. There was no secret. That was a plan. But one of them had a friend who was in a band, and the band came over to our house, and while I was barbecuing my steak on the front porch, all these bands showed up, and all these amps and guitars and all the band accessories and wiring, unbelievable. People just started lugging it over the front porch in the living room, because there was a huge old farmhouse we rented. And then the band played on until the fire department and the police came. It was pretty wild. Yeah. Because the band was there, there were a lot of people showed up that were uninvited, and it was a party to remember or not remember, because too much alcohol was consumed by all. But it was a blast. It's kind of like they do now a flash mob. Like, nobody was planning for a band and 400 people to show up, but everybody had a good time, and there you go.
Can you tell me about a favorite TV show that you like to watch?
My favorite TV show of all time has to be Star Trek. All of them. It just blows my mind that we don't know if there's other life forms out there. So you never get tired of watching that. Mm-hmm. And the stuff they can do. Actually, I watched a show last week called The Good Place. And I thought it was fascinating because as a person who I don't know about the afterlife, I thought it was, they kept discussing the philosophies of different religions, and the fact that, well, they thought they were in heaven, but they were in hell. And then they found out they were in hell. They got themselves moved to heaven. But after about a few thousand years of living in heaven, they decided they were bored and they didn't want to be at all anymore. So they decided to become non-existent. But there's so much food for thought in that show. It's just totally mind-boggling to me.
Truly, I've seen some of that, and it was quite fascinating the way they pick on the motives of the different people. They had someone on the show who was a world-class philanthropist, but this person was the shallowest, party-throwing egotist who supposedly deserved to be in heaven, or the one guy who snuck into the heaven place when he was really a drug dealer.
Yeah.
It's a pretty neat show.
The whole show made me think all the time. And I think it's important, because I don't like to think that I'm closed-minded. I've come to change my tune that any of us, through circumstance, could in theory become homeless just through a set of bad circumstances. So now I've changed my opinion since I was younger, and I think it's important that we help those less needy than ourselves. And I don't just say that, I actually do it. I give money to different organizations, and hopefully it's well spent, and I feel better for it. So we have to have faith that most of us have good intentions. Mm-hmm. There's always bad apples, but I do believe the system works for the good for the most part. So.
Mm-hmm. Now, I understand in one of the TV shows you've been watching, there is a good guy who operates for the good, and his name is Alex Rider. What can you tell me about him?
Oh, he's kind of like a junior James Bond. It's just, I didn't really learn anything from that. It's just entertainment, but it's just well done. I mean, you have to take a leap of faith, because when he was trying to escape from the prison, he turned an ironing board into a snowboard. So that's only something James Bond would do. But just light fun, really.
But at the same time, I heard he was captured, and the bad guys, if there are such a thing out there, those bad guys, they did something to him to make him regret his good deeds. Can you tell me what they did to him?
Oh, yeah, they made a clone of him.
They made a clone. I thought they tortured him with something. Do you remember what they tortured him with?
Oh, yeah. They tortured him with heavy metal music.
And was that effective?
No, because he loved it. So it may work on people who are unfamiliar with the music, but my Joanne can't stand heavy metal, so it would be a torture to her. But yet, conversely, if I had to listen to opera or symphony music, I would go insane very quickly. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's all about likes and dislikes. So if or when, who knows, such time comes as I may need a nursing home, I've decided I want to be in the nursing home on Avenue Road next to the Ferrari dealership, because then I can pretend that I have Alzheimer's, and after curfew or bedtime, I can sneak into the Ferrari dealership and steal a Ferrari and joyride it. And when they arrest me, I'll just say, "Oh, I don't know my name." And they'll probably let me off. So,
of course they will. I love those guys.
There are advantages to getting older because you can just pretend you have Alzheimer's and or dementia. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's a lot cheaper for the criminal justice system.
Well, one of my favorite T-shirts says, "Don't piss me off. If I get a life sentence, I won't have to serve very long." Very impressed with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like it too.
One of my favorite movies has to be the first Terminator. It was just so different from any movie I'd ever seen. I'm not sure there was anything negative about it at all. I could watch that movie many times. Because I think, well, it's becoming more evident every day that artificial intelligence is increasing, and I don't think that a Terminator is unrealistic down the road. Hopefully society will take steps that it doesn't happen, but it's quite possible.
Right.
When I was in high school, we had a IBM mainframe basically the size of a building in our school. And we used to put what was called punch cards in it. And it would do like very basic if and or computer operations. And then I remember when they gave us our first PC at work, and I was just blown away. And now my kids have iPhone 12s that have more computing power than it took to put, the first man on the moon. So just a movie, of course, but cyber intelligence isn't really very far off. So
it's crazy how books like 1984 came true in like less than 20 years. Yeah, it's pretty nuts, and it was pretty scary for many people at the time when it came out.
Oh, I wasn't scared at all. I just enjoyed every moment of it. So I wasn't scared at all.
Yeah.
I want to be scared. When I first saw The Exorcist, I slept, when I was an adult, I slept with my bedroom light on for a month after. You know, one of my favorite bands, Leonard Skinner, I saw a documentary about them, and I think we all have to give credit to the people who, like, started out with nothing and, persevered. And, you know, there was one band I used to see, I don't even remember their name, but they were a Toronto band, and it took them 30 years to finally make it.
Wow.
And I don't think I would have had that patience with my, family life. And that's like real dedication. They used to play in Weston, and they were just a bar band, which is really, if one has a love for music. I don't understand why, like, Sir Paul McCartney, who is close enough to a billionaire, keeps performing. But he has to love music and probably the audience to do that. I respect that,
Mm-hmm.
Like, the Rolling Stones are gearing up for a tour next year, and but like they haven't had to work for like probably almost 50 years, but they just keep doing it. So I don't even know why I keep working. Maybe it's because I can,
For sure.
The scariest thought about retiring is you've amassed this, in one's own field, an amazing amount of knowledge, and the day you retire, your knowledge is of no value to anybody. So I can see why some people keep working.
Yeah, for sure. And there's community.
It's all about balance. Anyhow,
Yeah.
now I'm working 3 days a week. I find it's absolutely an amazing balance of work and free time.
How many sports cars have you owned in your life?
5.
Did you own them all at the same time?
No. I would love to do that, but I've never had the financial wherewithal. I think it's kind of like discovering rock and roll music. The first time I heard the sound of I think the most beautiful sound in the world is a V12 Matra Simca at full volume accelerating. I just find the sound just amazing to my ears. And ever since I saw my first muscle car, I wanted one. So I bought a Cuda 340, and it's a passion as opposed to a sedan. So it's about the power and the handling and the sound. I just love it.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 years ago, I could afford a Corvette, and I wanted a Corvette since I was 16 years old. So it took me 47 years to buy a Corvette, and it's the nicest vehicle I've ever owned in my life. It's designed for one thing: performance, in acceleration, in handling. And everything about the car is designed for that purpose only. And it's loud, and it's not comfortable, and it's exactly what I wanted. And it's kind of like flying on a red carpet when I float along the 401. It's just an amazing feeling, and it gives me great joy. You either love it or you hate it. I have a cousin who he wants a Cadillac, so he bought a Cadillac. But I don't want that. I just love to have power at my fingertips,
Mm-hmm.
And you can never have too much power, so can be very dangerous, but it's fun. So,
Have you ever modified or made modifications to your sports cars?
absolutely, I've had 3/4 race cams put in. I've had bigger carburetors, bigger intake, free-flowing exhaust, just for more power and better sound. Always.
Wow. So what modifications are you looking to put on your Corvette?
Oh, just a stereo system, because the stock stereo is not very good. And I would like to be able to recreate a concert in my car while I'm barreling along the highway.
In this last chapter, you will hear about how Peter has fun these days. Then he will tell you a story about his grandson and finish with some comments about one album that has endured the test of time and an old band that ain't so loud anymore. What do you do for fun these days?
I do a lot of walking and a lot of reading, and I watch some TV. I always like walking, and it's rather nice to not walk with a dog, you know. But I still enjoy it. So I'm discovering all kinds of nature spots in Toronto to walk that I've never seen before in my life. The Beltway down at Riverside Park. And actually, having lived along the Humber, there's some amazing trails on the Don Valley. One day, Doug and I walked from basically the lakeshore all the way up to the 401. It took 3 hours, but it was beautiful. So it's a lot of nature in the city. Absolutely. Actually, this modern day and age is amazing because Joanne and I got a video last night of our grandson making nachos with his other grandmother. And it's just like, because of technology, like instantly you can share the moment. So some parts of it are so cool, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there, but I can see exactly what my grandson was doing. He was helping to put cheese on the nachos, but instead of putting the cheese on the nachos, just like the Cookie Monster, he picked up a handful of shredded cheese, and instead of putting on the nachos, he put it in his mouth. And then he was asked to try again, and he picked up another handful of cheese, and he shoved it in his mouth. And he was asked a third time to please put the cheese on the nachos. And he looks at his grandmother and his dad, and he just put a third helping of cheese in his mouth. And he kind of like, no, screw this. I'm just eating the cheese. So, but I got to experience that without even being there. That's so cool.
Yeah, that is very cute. I'm just smiling ear to ear. Yeah.
I mean, back in the day, we had to, take a roll of photos on a vacation and take them in, get them processed. And then when someone came over, we'd show them. Now everything is just instantly available for distribution if one wants to. So 24/7, I can see what someone's doing if someone cares to share and I care to watch. It's pretty neat, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is pretty hot. Yeah.
So all technology is not bad.
Truly, truly. And I'm so connected to my family. Like, I lost my brother for years. And then the one day, we got WhatsApp on our phones. And then we're sending pictures back and forth and little videos.
Oh, yeah.
It's just an amazing inspiration. Yeah. It's just the best.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Do you bother with any digital music?
I have a computer half full of it. Yeah, I got more rock music than you can possibly imagine. So I got hundreds of meg of it, hundreds of gigs of it. It's just amazing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I paid for it all through vinyl. I paid through it all through 8-track. I paid through it all through cassette and then CD. So some of it I paid for 4 times. But yeah, I no longer have any physical music. I gave it all, but I have it all digital. So
wow.
It's on my hard drive.
So did you sell your music?
No, I gave it away.
Oh.
I couldn't be bothered selling it. I gave it to people who wanted it. So can I leave you with a thought?
Yeah, please do.
If you suffered through Metallica Through the Never, it is rather heavy. There's actually a song I think you might like. I'm serious, okay?
Yeah.
It's called Freebird. You ever heard of that song?
No.
It's by Leonard Skinner. And Leonard Skinner does a very weird spelling. If you Google it, you'll figure it out. You're smart. But it's a 13-minute live version of Freebird. It's not heavy metal, okay?
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. You know, sometimes a classic song that a friend must listen to may be heavy metal, and that's all right.
Actually, my favorite album of all time probably is Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, you know?
Mm.
You've heard that album, I bet, right?
I've heard parts of it.
I think that's 50 years old. That's pretty much a timeless album.
Yeah. Yeah, Pink Floyd is like pretty funky stuff.
Well, time is possible. Well, a lot of people thought the Rolling Stones were avant-garde at the time in the late 60s, but now it's almost elevator music, you know? So whatever. Times change. People change.
Thanks so much, Peter. You have a great day, huh?
Yeah. Okay. Bye, John.
Okay, bye. You have been listening to Sharing Life. If you would like to contact me, use my email, sharinglifestudios@gmail.com. Also, I have an independent board who reviews all decisions regarding these broadcasts. Thank you for being a listener.
Too much fun.